there are young minds more becoming creative and innovative. If someone is really interested into this space of data science, they should specifically go back to basics, learn mathematics. That's very, very important. Even I am not good at math. I'll honestly tell that. I am still trying to turn around my head every time there's anything new coming up. But this whole field is about learning and experimenting. It never stops. Even today, if I am working, I have to keep myself updated. Every day there's something new coming up. So that endless learning goes on. And eventually all these hackathons that I have been doing, it's I say that it's either I win or I learn all from them. So that's how it is.
Let's start. Folks have
Mm-hmm.
already joined. So let's
Okay.
start the session. Okay, let me give a brief introduction. So here with us we have Jayita Bhattacharyya. I met her in the event Road to AI Community Days, where she spoke about Halua mitigating hallucination of multimodal LLMs, and we got to learn about many things, how it goes. And kindly, yeah, I'm muting you. Muting you. Okay, 1 second. Yeah. So I met her at the time, and uh, her way of delivering the speech was actually fantastic. I mean, she kept the audience so hooked with the memes and all, and it was actually memorable. I even at this day I remembered how the speech gone from start to finish. All the techniques were discussed. I still remember it right now. And she is currently a data scientist at Deloitte. She has given speech in various hackathon, various tech events, and she has also on over 5+ hackathons. That's it. If I missed any points, you can elaborate on the introduction.
Sure, sure. No worries. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah. I think five would be a lesser number if I may correct you there.
Five, yeah, actually 5+ hackathons. I told.
But anyway, yeah, I think now that in the starting that I told you
Yeah.
that I'm thinking that I'm growing old and maybe yeah, you young minds are in the space where you can innovate more.
Yeah, I have seen over your LinkedIn. It's actually 10 hackathons and 10+ hackathons actually. Five is actually less number. Okay.
Yeah, it's I
So
think over the past 5 years. Yeah, so that's the span also that counts.
I have a question. So, what motivated you to enter into this space of data science? How did you enter into this space?
Okay, that's a good question. Like I like answering it. I think back in 2020 when I was graduating, I am a COVID batch pass out. So then I was doing a final year project where I got to introduce to this field. So the project that I was doing was pretty much basic as a object detection project. So while doing it, I got to know that there are softwares which can think just like us. So how the human brain functions, that if I see a cat, I'll identify that as a cat. If I see a dog, I'll identify that as a dog. So a machine can also do that, a software can also do that. So that's how that idea just got into me, and I knew that yeah, this is some space that really interests me, and I can teach a machine to do the things that to solve real world problems. So that's how I got introduced to this field, and I started my journey there.
That's a nice story. So, you started from 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So, how did you approach learning? So, if you are currently learning now, so what would be
Mm-hmm.
your technique? So, start from the very basic. So, how would you learn in 2025 about
So I
AI?
think I know there's pretty much hype about generative AI and everything there going on, but if someone is really interested into this space of data science, they should specifically go back to basics, learn mathematics. That's very, very important. Whenever these models come up, there's high-end mathematics that goes into it, how matrix multiplication takes place, all of the algebra, probability, and statistics, all of that will be needed. So that is very basic thing that you will be expected to know if you you are into this field. So even I am not good at math. I'll honestly tell that. I am still trying to turn around my head every time there's anything new coming up. But this whole field is about learning and experimenting. It never stops. Even today, if I am working, I have to keep myself updated. Every day there's something new coming up. So that endless learning goes on. And then when you have wrapped up a bit about the mathematics, maybe Python is the most basic language that is used in this field. So you have to be on your toes when it comes to Python. You have to know beyond that basics of maybe list, dictionary, and all of those things. You have to know about functions and everything about Python you have to know. Then there are some libraries into Python that help you with data analysis and exploring data, visualizing, and all those stuffs. There's pandas and numpys as libraries, so they help you with certain, how do you go about investigating your data, how does your data look like, what is it, discrete, is it continuous, and all of those stuffs you can get to know from your data. And then maybe go forward with some of traditional machine learning. So I generally like how things came from the beginning. So starting from linear regression, logistic regression, and all of those algorithms, how did they come up, and how they have been helping into solving problems. And then go up to those high end problems of, so this I'm talking about tabular data sets and well structured data sets that you have. So suppose you want to predict housing price prediction is a pretty common one. And we have are all those data sets that are there existing. So if you, there are various platforms that you can go, such revolutionizing this nowadays. All these platforms like YouTube is there, you'll get quality content from very good YouTubers out there. Appreciate the effort that they've given. There's Kaggle, as we were talking about in the earlier. So Kaggle is also a great platform. If you can learn from others how their writing styles. In a notebook, they give the end-to-end machine learning pipeline that they have built. You can go through steps how they have come up with the approach. Then I guess there are platforms like Hugging Face, then there is Coursera and whatnot. So today there is endless scope to learn. And I would say, at first, if you don't want to go for paid services, do not go. Go for free services. Those are fairly quality content is still present. You just need to identify those. And then, yeah, once
Yeah,
done with machine learning, if you want to go to the next step of unstructured data, text, and images, then you can jump onto deep learning. That's whole another story that continues to today's
yeah.
generative AI.
Actually, regarding deep learning, in our college semester,
Mhm.
we have to study deep learning first, then we are studying machine learning. That's actually a reverse.
That's
I don't know
we
why they
can't
have
argue with college courses.
kept deep learning first. So, you mentioned mathematics. So, uh, how
Mhm.
much mathematics is actually required, and regarding to that, how many I mean,
Mhm.
the question is, what kind of statistics is also required in machine learning
Mhm.
space? How much statistics?
But, uh I don't think that you like, obviously whatever outline courses you would obviously get there, that what are these skewness and all of those things, you'll eventually get those p values and whatnot. That you may not at first understand that where will I need it, but while working with some data sets. So always I say to students that, even not just students, anybody starting into the field to data science, that whenever you learn a concept, try implementing it. And there are packages that will help you do that, but eventually you will get out learning that where exactly I will be applying it. So for example, if I am learning about how to predict the next housing price, so I have a historic data of this was the pricing of 10 years, so what will be the pricing of next year. So how do you do that? You can apply some statistical modeling there and get to know about it. So obviously I wouldn't say that you go into in depth into those differentiation integration things. Don't maybe don't eat up your head much into it. Keep it simple. Maybe just go through what's needed, what these algorithms behind the scene, what works in these algorithms, try to get to know them. Yeah, I mean, even today if you ask me some equation, it's not, yeah, I won't even remember. That's the reason documentations are very great in this space.
Yeah, and regarding there are already pre-built APIs available over
Yeah,
Scikit-learn, sklearn, and
yeah,
TensorFlow and
correct,
PyTorch. So,
correct.
will you recommend someone who is starting out machine learning or deep learning? Will they
Mhm.
build the algorithms from scratch? using Python without relying on the on that libraries, on those libraries. Will you recommend that?
I mean, for understanding purposes, surely you should. Like, if you want to implement an autograd or anything to do with, say, deep learning or machine learning, if you want to implement a function, an algorithm from scratch, you can do that. Or you can just, go to the documentation. You can see scikit-learn is open source. That they will show you how they have written the entire algorithm of the that particular model. So that way you can go for an understanding. For later uses, when you're building a use case, then you might not need it. If not, for like, if you're looking for certain customization that you want to do at the loss level or the regularization level, if you're looking for certain customization, you can do that on your own. Other than that, I don't think that would be needed to implement from scratch, apart from understanding.
Okay, and DC Raj was asking, will you ask something, DC Raj? He was raising hand. DC Raj, will you ask
Yes,
something?
bhai, I want to ask questions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
ask.
sure, go ahead.
Didi, is it mandatory to apply for data science role after doing master degree, or
Not
is there
really,
any
I didn't do
option?
one.
Oh, no, the
I am a
I
pure
saw.
BTech graduate.
No, I
I
see
mean,
in
it,
some
it
articles
totally
that.
depends. Yes, yes, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, I see some of the articles in which some company mentioned that having master degree or having 1 year or 2 year experience, then it is very. I think that it is very difficult for freshers to apply for data science roles. I also
Hmm.
start learning data science because I gain interest in this field. But I am a little bit. I having a little bit confusion about this, that master degree required or 1 2 year experience. Then how should I get apply or select for regarding as freshers position in some
Got it,
companies?
got it. Yeah, yeah. That's one thing that I wanted to address today. See, I mean, if you wish to go for masters, please go. I'm sure you would come out learning something very great from it. But if you like, if you're somebody like me who is just interested, I see my kind of learning is I do not prefer much of theory. I learn more from practical applications. So the more I implement, the more I learn. That's how my way of learning is. And I'm sure there are jobs where, if I have done that. So I have been able to crack jobs into this field without a master's. But yeah, I wouldn't say that that's the only way. If you want to go for masters, surely go. There is surely there will be greater things there that you will learn out of it. For freshers breaking into this job market, I understand into MNCs they look for certain kind of experience when it comes to data science jobs. But there are startups, and in India also there are great new companies coming up. If you just want to start your career, just want to learn data science, I would say don't particularly target MNCs. Go for startups, gather the knowledge there, try to learn how startup ecosystem is very great. Your role wouldn't be restricted to just say a single thing. They would want you to wear multiple hats. So that's the beauty of it. You will come out learning something great. And there are remote opportunities as well. It's not that with a peanut salary you would be expected to come out somewhere and spend all your money. So do check those out as well. If you're genuinely interested into learning data science, my advice would be don't just target MNCs anyway. Once you have the opportunity, you can go for it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And one more question I want to ask, that for data
Mhm.
science roles, it is mandatory to learn web development as well, because in my college, many students, other than data structure algorithm, they start learning
Mhm.
only web development, neither else.
In data science, it's not mandatory. I mean, like, if you are genuinely interested into software and as a software engineer, maybe you would be expected to know some kind of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, but nothing more than that. Like, nobody would expect you, if in a data science role, that you know about React or Angular, until unless if you're going for full stack roles. Yeah. So
Yeah, I personally hate full stack. HTML also I
Me
feel
too.
everyone
very
does.
boring.
Me too. Me too.
Everyone does. I
Yeah.
have been there.
For the, yeah, for the backend, we all use Flask.
Yeah, that's good. The
Yeah,
fast API is even better.
fast appear. Yeah, it's actually better than Flask. So, folks, if
Yeah.
you have any question, kindly ask her. Kindly raise your hand and ask her, or I'll be asking question. Yeah, Kanishka, you can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
you're
we can
audible.
hear you.
Yeah, so my doubt is that I'm so interested in data science, but I'm just afraid of maths. Like, you know, what would be your suggestion if I am a beginner and I'm actually want to study data science, but I'm just afraid of maths? What can I do?
I mean, you cannot be afraid of maths. Maths is just part of data science. You eventually would have to know that. So even told you, like, I am no genius in maths. Even I try to turn my head around and go about it. But I'm just curious about how this algorithm works. And to know in that quest, I have to know some bits of maths. So I guess it's very much basic. I know some equations could be very nerve-wracking, but there are, you wouldn't, if you're not going for say research scientist, or say if you're not that damn interested onto going deep diving into driving things, basic things should work fine. Your plus two level concepts of differentiation, integration, probabilities, Bayes theorem, so all those basic things should work fine for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for answering. So,
Welcome.
my next question is: you have participated in various hackathons, also won in many
Mm-hmm.
of them. So, what was your
Mm-hmm.
experience in your first hackathon, and what was it like in your first hackathon?
Okay, okay. I think the very first hackathon that I did was back then. I think still today, Tata Innovers, they conduct a yearly or a quarterly hackathon that they have. So back then it was in 2020 where they had this, I think, problem statement for COVID. How do you detect that somebody wore the mask properly, or they're
Yeah,
following the social distancing norms of 6 feet? So that was, I guess, my first problem. So I had just learned about OpenCV and object detection, so I was very interested into applying that. And yeah, I think it was an so one of my friends was taking part in it, and I just went around, tagged along. It was an individual participation though, and that's how I really enjoyed solving the problem. We had a full-fledged solution. We built a GUI application onto it, and it was able to detect. So if for face there are certain points into it, your nose had some points, your lips had some points, so using that we could detect that whether somebody wore a mask properly or not. And social distancing, that we did using thermal distancing, which is not totally accurate because you cannot, we were doing solving 3D problems in 2D, so you cannot expect that to be accurate. But yeah, it was fun building around the solution. Eventually all these hackathons that I have been doing, it's, I say that it's either I win or I learn all from them. So that's how it is.
so, if there is any beginner who wants to participate in hackathon, so can you give
Mm-hmm.
them some tips and tricks and some
Mm-hmm.
strategic, efficient time to utilize the
Mm-hmm.
hackathon time?
Okay.
Can
Okay.
you give some tips to all of
Mm-hmm.
us?
So there are hackathons where you would be given a problem statement that the work becomes easier. Your mind is onto constrained onto one problem statement that you would need to solve. There are some hackathons where you are not given the problem statement, but that's also good in a way. If you have something in mind, you want to solve some real world problems, you can just pitch it out. So I would say always further, what I've seen, the expectation of the judges in these hackathons are that they look for something unique solution. It could be that you are maybe providing something unique solution. So one of the hackathons that I guess last year I saw some hackathons where they were detecting the food that you're having in your plate, and what is the nutrition value of each of that food. If you're having sprouts, how much of calories would that be? So that is a unique solution. Like nobody maybe have thought about that. I can scan my food and understand what the calorie that intake that I'm doing for the day. So that's how unique solutions come up. Try to approach it that way. Also, like in some certain hackathons, I've also seen that they look at the way of implementing it. So in one of my past hackathons, I think October, we won a hackathon where we tried to. So there was this concept of knowledge graphs, like how data is interconnected with each other. So that's how we solved. We was going to solve. We proposed a solution to about healthcare, that how patient data can be mapped. If, say for example, my family has a entire patient history, I have the map of my entire family data, that these are the diseases running through in my family, and this is where I could also be having it. Now that's a recommendation I give, that these are the things I could follow to avoid it. So that's how you can look it up, either in the implementation phase or the unique solution phase that you are solving it. I understand that certain hackathons do have a very strict deadline, and you need to come up with certain solutions. But that's the challenge, and that's how you learn out of it.
Yeah, and there are various agents coming around, like OpenAI just released Operator,
Yeah.
and yeah, and there is always the API call section. Okay, any beginner
Mm-hmm.
can be tempted to use API calls and build their projects. So
Mm-hmm.
what is your
Mm-hmm.
recommendation? So will they just call APIs from the LLMs, or they build something from scratch, some machine learning models or deep learning models from scratch, or fine tune them? What's your take on this? Or build some agents regarding AI
Ah,
space?
okay. So I think it's totally depends on the use case that you have in mind. So if you are not somebody from the software background who just wants to, apply these pre-built things onto solving some problem, then it's fine that you do an LLM call. But I personally wouldn't support somebody from this software background directly calling an API gateway and calling them as a machine learning agent. That's not how that works. So yeah, maybe and what I have seen is like these models are still not there. Like if you expect that they will give you good accuracy and always try to answer correctly, that's still not the case, and that's how our jobs are still there. Luckily, let's see up until where. But yeah, eventually with time maybe they will get there. But as of now, they're still not there. So whenever you're using an AI solution to build a whole solving a real problem, then I'm sure you will run into some debugging errors, and which you will feel like that it would have been good that I would have wrote it from scratch itself. So that if you want to avoid those kind of situations, maybe take help of those models. I wouldn't say do not take. Obviously I do that also. So all those mundane tasks, maybe if your code ran into some error, you put it up to chat gpt, you ask them that what is the solution that can come up for this. So those bits and pieces can be done, but not the entire thing.
Okay, thanks for the answer. Okay, regarding on a question, on a separate question, that is,
Mhm.
did you do some internship, or internship is required for a student before they jump into taking a job on machine learning, on the field of machine learning?
So I did one, and if anybody interested should go forward with it. Like if you're just starting up, maybe there are full-time jobs, but often people would expect you to also know some knowledge if you're going for full times. So internship is a way to just break into the field, maybe. So for me, I did one when I was just in 2020. I was waiting for my full-time the campus hire that I got into, but it was delayed due to COVID, and I got interested into data science, and that's how I landed up a content writing job into a company called Analytics India magazine. So they are a tech journalism company where my day-to-day job was to write articles about certain topics into data science and machine learning that came up. It could be that I explain certain algorithm through code and everything, or it could be in general that something came up, how impactful it is for the businesses and stuff like that. So it helped me into go deeper to my knowledge, and every topic that I used to write every day would enrich my knowledge. So that's a very good way to if you think about it.
Do you still write blogs?
uh not really. I used to until last year. I did try doing that, but yeah, now with the experience that you go into, the amount of work that adds on, it's very
Yeah,
hard to find time. And I live out
yeah.
of my home, so managing everything on my own, so it's really time challenging. But yeah, I
Ha-
think anybody wishing to do that should continue. Even I am considering now again starting that up.
Yeah, Ayushi has raised her hand. You can speak, Ayushi.
Mhm.
Hi Dee. Firstly, I must
Hello.
say that the session is really very interesting because it just cleared lots of doubts I was having. Just one doubt
Thank
I'm
you.
having that.
Hmm.
Other than the mathematics, statistical mathematics, then the advanced Python, then it's OOPS concept, libraries, then the machine learning and deep learning. How
Hmm.
SQL is important to how is that SQL really very important to learn to in this field of data science?
I would say, yeah. I mean, SQL is a what do I say? A necessary evil, if you may call it. So, if you are going forward to solve any tabular or a structured data set, you might be wanting to know about SQL. Very still, everything is not into NoSQL, and every problem that you solve might not be unstructured data. So, for structured data, it's still relevant. And I guess SQL is very interesting. Do you guys not find that interesting? I used to solve a lot of problems on HackerRank back in the day in 2018, 19 in my college days. I guess I learned more out of implementing, is what I said. It used to give me a joy that okay, this is the problem in hand and this is how I solve it. So maybe look at into that aspect, that what problem you may solving you can solve at hand, and that may be giving you an adrenaline push rather than just thinking that okay, okay, to learn this I may need this, I may need that.
Thanks for answering. So, is DSA required for getting a data scientist job or an internship?
Into product companies, surely. Into service based companies, limited, I would say, not that into depth for interviews. But yeah, I guess you should do it, because it's not just about the algorithms that you learn. Maybe you wouldn't be applying most of them. Who would reverse a linked list in our day to day jobs, right? But then at certain levels, at certain algorithms, if you think about the tree based algorithms into data science, into machine learning, the XGBoost, the random forest, and all of those are linked to the data structures and algorithms that we learned. The all those linked list concept do come there. So if you think about it, so in a way, behind the scenes, it is going on. We may not be doing it from scratch, but in a way, it is important. And ultimately, I see myself as a problem solver. Whether it requires AI or not is a separate story. So if you are a problem solver, the DSA is a way to go forward into software engineering.
Yeah, even in neural networks and training neural networks, memoization is used where you have to store all the weights and
Yes,
biases
yes,
value. Yeah,
absolutely.
and it's a use case of data structure and algorithm. Dynamic programming is the use case. Yeah,
Yes, very well put.
and actually, yeah. So, so my next question is, so how did you get into Deloitte? So, what was your interview
Mhm.
experience like?
So yeah, I think I recently switched to Deloitte back in October. I think I gave the interview around maybe somewhere around August, maybe. Yeah. There were 3 rounds of interviews. So at all rounds, again, I was asked to code out. So ultimately, that's how they will judge me. There were also questions onto how about the basics of data science, or say if I so suppose if in my resume I had a project that this is the thing that I did. So maybe if I recall, there was a some kind of RAG chatbot that I had built. So they wanted me to explain out how did I build it, how, and also in the evaluations also, how did I evolve that this is going to beat some benchmark, or this is going to be a very good solution for the proposed statement that I am giving out. So I think they judge you on those levels, that not just okay I solved this, but how valuable is this solution, how do you measure this. So those cross questioning also keeps happening.
Okay, so in total there were 3 rounds. So,
Yeah, first round was
okay.
very basic. I think they just wanted to understand my skill sets. Then in the second round, a bit of coding and question answering. That was a long format, 1.5 hour interview. And then in the third round, again, it was a bit of coding. It was the managerial round where they may or may
Okay.
not ask you technical questions, but it's more of like, okay, if you clear this round, you're in.
Okay, in the coding round, you were asked TSA
Mhm.
or machine learning concepts?
Both. So machine learning concepts,
Both.
obviously, they wouldn't ask me to code it down, but yeah,
Hmm.
certain DSA questions, not much into depth, I guess. For me, it was basic around array strings. So they certain problems, if you suppose say, how do you find the second largest number in an array? So if I give a solution, they would again ask me that, okay, you're using two loops here. How do you optimize it? Can you use a map here? Can you do something here? So the interviewer also wants to know the way you're thinking about the problem. Can you optimize it? So when you're working into a company, suppose for my project, if I say there is millions of data that I'm working into, if the number of loops that I give, the time complexity increases, the answer that I want will increase in time. So I have to think about optimization. I have to think how better I can give a solution. So that's where DSA comes in, right? That how better you can do the solve the problem. Certain problem can be solved with order of three, n of three, but
Yeah.
can you do that in order of one? Maybe or may not
Yeah.
be, but you can attempt it. That's how your brain will
Hmm.
boost up.
Yeah. So what topics will you recommend? So if someone is learning TSA
Mhm.
for applying to data science position, what topics should they more focus on of
So I
TSA?
think there's no defined path that I have as of to answer, but yeah, basics obviously, maybe array concepts, string concepts, a little bit onto these trees and linked list and all of these basic, maybe greedy, dynamic programming. Maybe if you give me, maybe I also won't be able to solve it at the moment, but certain companies do ask that as well.
Okay, thanks for answering.
So there
And
are patterns, I
so
guess,
okay,
into if you're going to lead code or anywhere, I think there are patterns that you would need to go through. And specifically, if you're targeting product-based companies, they there's the getting out of it. So I have friends who got into bigger companies where, like Google or Microsoft, where maybe there's only one round of data science or machine learning that they ask, but rest 2 to 3 rounds of only DSA. So yeah, that's how you can think about it.
okay. Sohaili wants to ask a question. Sohaili, you can unmute yourself.
Hello everybody. Hello Dee. So
Mhm.
my question is that if you were a beginner, how would you approach learning about AI?
If you're a beginner, how would you approach learning to AI?
Yes.
Uh, okay. So I think in my view, it would be if I'm given a problem statement, I would assess it whether I would need AI to solve that, or is it just a rule-based thing that can be done giving some if-else statements as such. So if this field genuinely interests you, like as I said for my case, that object detection problem really intrigued me onto how and system is able to do that. If you are that curious, you can go about it. And learning, as I mentioned earlier, that there is various resources available now. There is you can go to YouTube. There is so good content there. There are certain blogs and articles who have really good content written. There is official documentations also of these Python libraries, or anywhere that you can find quality content. There is one website, I guess, for Python that's called, I guess, realpython.org, who write very good Python content there. For, I guess, if you're into AI and if you want wish to learn, there are certain newsletters. There is Substack, there is Medium, there is Towards Data Science. All of these blog writing places where you would find quality content from people. Keep following them up. Also, go to Kaggle, try to look up how people are implementing problems and try to learn out of it. Kaggle also has a mini course section where you can start up your AI journey. That's also a good one. It's very good. I personally liked it because just after you learn the lesson, they have an implementation section. So I enjoy learning by implementation. So that's how you can go forward with it.
I have another
Thanks for
question.
Mm-hmm.
May I?
yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. What are the some underrated skill that have helped you to grow in your AI ML journey career?
Okay. So I would say, yeah, earlier we had a discussion about web development. So now, if I think about it, it has helped me in a way. So I initially, when I joined IBM as a fresher, I was a full stack engineer there, and that's how my hate for full stack grew. But if full stack isn't a bad thing, if you realize later on, it did add value to it. Had I not learned how CSS or HTML or JS works, maybe later on when I went into integrating my models onto the front end, ultimately the model that you make will be consumed through an API and shown into the front end, and the data would be might be getting stored into some databases. So I wouldn't have been able to debug those things had I not known these things. So yeah, somebody asked about SQL as well. SQL is a very important skill that you would be needed. So into data, there are various other roles as well. There is data engineer, there is data analyst, and all of these roles, SQL is a top priority skill that you would be needed. For data science or machine learning engineer, data scientist and machine learning engineer, data scientist also you would need it. Machine learning engineer maybe not that much, but again, it's a necessary evil. You cannot skip SQL.
Okay, thank you, Didi. Thank you.
Thank you
Welcome.
for answering, Jayita. So Akash wants to ask a question. Akash?
Go ahead.
Good evening, ma'am. Actually, I was
Yeah.
interested in how you have documented your work. Like you have learned so many
Mm-hmm.
concepts until now, data
Mm-hmm.
center as well as web development, as you have mentioned, which is a ocean, as we know. I personally wanted to know how you have documented everything digitally or else
So,
handwritten. Yeah.
both, I guess, both. So I am a pretty old school when it comes to learning something. I would take down notes in hand, paper, and pen and paper. I still have all of them stacked. So whenever I need to reference them, I would go back and just look at them up. Also, digitally, I maintain GitHub, I would say. So whenever I implement something, I push the code onto GitHub, and it's all open sourced. Anybody coming into my GitHub resource can look at it, can give recommendation on top of it, or maybe wants to collaborate and say that, okay, hey, you built this, we can go build on top of this as well. So that's how GitHub is a very good place to keep your work. And I guess most of these companies that you apply would want to see that open source contribution that you do, or what is the thing that you tried out and you have pushed the code onto GitHub. And also just not git clone and git push, but you would be expected to explain the project that you built and how did you build out and what is your next thoughts onto it and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So purely, do you have question? Okay, Rishi is asking another question. Rishi, you can proceed.
Mhm.
Hello. Yeah, Rishi, you can proceed with asking the question. I guess his mic is not working. Rishi, can you hear? Okay, so Purely was raising her hand. Purely,
Mhm.
will you want to ask a question?
Hello? Am I
Yeah,
audible?
yeah, you're audible.
So I want to know that how do you manage your time between work, personal projects, speaking engagement, hackathons, etc.
Difficult, I would say, but yeah, something you're really passionate about, something that keeps you driving the force, then I'm sure you would find time. I mean, like, there are days in when I'm working for 12, 14 hours for just the company, but there are again days where I close up my work between 6 to 8 hours a day. Then the rest of the day is to me. I can do whatever I want. There are weekends that I can utilize fully. So yeah, that's how I'm still trying to manage, I would say.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thanks for the answer. Now Aritra wants to ask a question. You can
Mhm.
unmute yourself, Aritra.
Hi, Dee, I am Orithro, and my
Mhm.
question is, what are generative adversarial networks? Like, I have studied it
Mhm.
a few, but unfortunately couldn't able to understand it. Please, can you tell me?
Okay, okay. You're asking about GANs, right? Generated adversarial
Yes,
networks.
yes, yes, yes. And how can I apply
Mm-hmm.
in my AI models? Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I think GANs brought a revolution to the generative models that we see now. So there's a very great course in Coursera about GANs. There's some instructor, I forgot her name, but she's very good into this. So I'll give you a basic idea of what that is. So suppose that maybe your friend is showing you an image of image of say maybe Taj Mahal or Himalayas, and you are unable to say. So the picture is so good that you're unable to say whether it is a real picture or a created picture. So that's where GANs try to do. They have two kinds of models. One is the generator and one is the discriminator. Now this generator and discriminator constantly have a fight between each other. The generator has built a fake image, and this not just image, it could be any format of media, it could be audio, video, anything, it could be, or text, anything it could be. And then there is this discriminator which tries to say whether it is real or fake. So that's how GANs work, and it has been revolutionary onto this space of generative modeling.
I guess that
Thank
answered
you,
your
Udit.
question, Aritra. Yeah, thank you, Didi.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Welcome.
And now Poshali wants to ask a question. Poshali, you can unmute yourself.
All right. Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So I had this question. I see you have given so many take speeches or interviews. Like you're very good at public speaking. So how did you improve that skill of yours, and how do I do that?
So I was also a stage fright person. Ever since school, I don't think I have gone to the stage as such. It was until I think last year when I first gave my talk at one of the big events here. So obviously, I think it goes unsaid that the thing that fears you the most, just face it and it will be gone. So that's how the thing is, right? In my first couple of in stage speeches that I gave, I was scared about, of course, I was nervous. And the moment I went to stage, suddenly it used to, for some of the speeches, I would say that it used to vanish off. And after say 10, 13 of them that I've given, now it's gone totally. If you just put me on stage, maybe I would be able to speak up. So that's how it is. Like startup, if you're really interested in speaking, maybe start with virtual ones, or just in a small crowd. First started with a small crowd, then gradually go into a higher crowd, and you would be able to do it, I'm sure.
Thank you so much for answering.
Yeah, thank
Mhm.
you. Thank you for the answer, Jayita. So now Rishi wants to ask another question. Rishi.
Okay.
Sorry, Bhaiya Didi. My mic was not working on it.
No
Part.
worries, no worries.
Ma'am, Didi, I want to ask question
Mm-hmm.
that if I want to build project regarding data science, then if
Mm-hmm.
I done sensor faults detection and Myntra swapper or shipment price prediction like project, then it is worth it for final year project, or should I do more advanced project than this? These.
Uh, tricky question. Okay. I mean, maybe the way you approach the problem, look at it. It could be that it is a solved problem. Then look at what more value that you can add, or what more you can build on top of it. So that's how you can go one way about it. Or maybe look for problems that you see are problematic, but you don't see a solution for them. Maybe you can build something out of them. So either look at implementation, or look at some real world problem that hasn't yet been solved. So that would be my advice. Rest, I think, do go up to your professors. They would have surely to add on to it. Or maybe online you can also reach out to more mentors who are like recent grads. I am out of college for 5 years now. Maybe who recently graduated previous year, maybe they can guide you as well. What is the thing that they did? There's a lot of resource on GitHub as well you can go through. So maybe try talking up with your seniors what they have done and how did they do it. So that way, yeah, you could have a better idea.
Thank you, Didi.
Thank you for the answer. So,
Mhm.
what is your day-to-day responsibilities over at Deloitte?
Okay. So it depends. If it is a Monday, then there are certain. So it's a kind of weekly sprint that we follow, or not even weekly. Sometimes we are expected to finish work within 4 days. So that's how it's mostly, if you think about data science perspectives, then as a data scientist I would be expected that certain data comes to me in a certain format. A data engineer has already processed the raw data and given me in a good format that I can take it forward onto. And then on top of that, I would do some investigation that how the data looks like, what needs to be fixed into it. If I suppose say there is the categorical data, I would have to convert it to numeric. So those kinds of I mean old school things we have to do. On top of that, if there is certain algorithm that I need to apply for solving the business problem, so that I have to apply. And nowadays there is this aspect of using generative models. So I have to suppose if I have a summarization job, or say if I have a generation job at hand, then that is where I would have to prompt something up and involve the LLM into the picture, and that's how I would get an output of out of it into solving some use cases. Then that would go to the next layer into presenting my problem onto the particular client or particular solution that I propose to the solve at hand. And that's where it will be taken forward. There would be code reviews, there would be how this algorithm works well, and what more better can be done here, how it can be optimized, and all those sorts of things would come into picture at a later stage. And finally, yeah, it would go live. That's what we fear a lot of times, that okay, what is breaking in production? What is my model not doing correctly? Again, I have to backtrack it.
Yeah. So now, thanks for the answer, Joyita Di. Now, Aritra wants to ask a question. Aritra, you can unmute yourself.
Heidi, I have another question. Like, what are the main differences between NLP and NLU, and like how can I integrate with these two? Like, suppose I am building a project,
NLP.
how can I integrate?
So I guess if you're looking into NLP as a broader aspect, onto suppose say you have a certain text problem that you want to solve, suppose the next word prediction, or the anything to do with these generation kind of tasks. So it would depend totally on to how you want to solve the problem. NLP again is a whole vast of things, how you can look into stemming and lemmatization and all of those stuffs, like how a word is making sense to the machines. Ultimately machines understand all of numbers. So how you want to approach that problem is totally up to you.
Okay, now Sohail wants to ask another question.
Am I audible?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. You focus on generative AI. How do you see it involving, and what the real world impact do you think it will be have in the next 5 years?
Okay, so my take on modern day AI is very much towards a co-pilot approach. What I mean by that is that suppose say if I'm stuck at somewhere, instead of me going out and googling about it, if I have an assistant whom I can directly put down my question to, that gives me an answer. It may or may not be helpful. That's another aspect to it. Or say if I get some help out of it and I then know how to do the next steps, then it's a great co-pilot for me. So I think it's the way out for me. AI will always be a co-pilot for me and not the pilot. Pilot will obviously be me. So that's how I look at it. And I think nowadays that concept of reinforcement learning with human feedback, that is picking up. So suppose say the co-pilot answers me this question and I am not satisfied with it, so I give a feedback that this is not correct, you maybe want to change your answer. So that's how the model also learns out of it, and with the later iterations, it tries to answer me up the correct question correctly, or maybe it or say personalized the way I like it. Suppose say if I ask it that I want to cook fried rice, how do I do that? And it has learned that I like it a bit more sweet and garlic and all those. So it is how personalization comes into picture. So it gives me an answer that this is the way you would want to like it. Somebody else using the same system might not get the answer like it. So everybody in hand, if they could have a personalized bots, is what I mean. Sorry. So that's how I look at it. I maybe yeah, other the world would have other views, and I think AGI is what everybody is trying to achieve. So for me, that is how AGI will be. That if I have a personalized bot who is aware of entire lifestyle and whatever I want to ask it, that say, hey, I'm going here, I want to dress up like this, and it comes up with a personalization that I dress up like this. So this is how I can do like today.
Thank you.
Now, Auditro has another question. Auditro, you can unmute
Mhm.
yourself.
Heidi, like you told
Mhm.
about stemming and limitation. I knew about stemming. What is limitation?
So, okay. So in stemming, the word that gets break down onto, let me try to find some example for you maybe. Then you may understand it better. The main difference between stemming and lemmatization is that the root word that gets formed in stemming may or may not have a meaning, but the one that happens for lemmatization, it would have a meaning. So maybe I can quickly share up my screen and show you an example that I just got by Google search. Uh, Let me know if my screen is visible to you. Oh, where did it go?
Yes, yes, it is
There
visible.
was a there was a picture that I saw. Okay, I think it is gone. We search it again. Yeah, this is the picture I was talking about. So if you see in stemming, the root word from change, changing, changes, it gets formed as CHANG. So in English, if you
Yes.
look that up, that is, it's not a word that makes sense. Okay. But for lemmatization, when that breakdowns to a root word, it has a meaning. Change has a meaning. So that's a basic difference. And there are pros and cons to it. So not having a meaning to it would mean that it uses less computation power, but having a meaning would mean it has more computation power. So it totally again depends on the task at hand you have, the next stage of task that you want to do, whether this meaning would carry a value or not is what you would decide and go forward with stemming and lemmatization. Here the time complexity is less, here it is more because of obvious reasons.
Thank you, Di.
Okay,
Welcome.
now Akash has another question. Akash, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, ma'am. Actually, this domain act is still yet explored. It should be explored, right? So, how do you update yourself every day, and how do you familiarize these technologies in the upcoming future?
Mm-hmm. It's tough, you know. It's tough to keep up with all the news that comes up, and it says that सांस लेते एक और model आ गया. So it's really tough space that we are into. But yeah, again, the curiosity is something a big time killer, I would say, for me at least. So if I'm using a model today and some new model comes up, it's my brain is like, why did this come up? Why are people saying this is good? So that's how I guess through curiosity I go to different platforms. There's LinkedIn is one of the great platforms that I follow certain people who are totally up to date with these fields, and they keep sharing their knowledge. I do my part of it. So that's how this ecosystem continues. There are also certain blogs that you can follow. There is again then I think if Twitter, if it is used in proper way, I find it useful. I did not used to use it up until late this year, last year. So there also there are people who share good things there. There is also everywhere there is content. You can think of YouTube, or you can think of Instagram as well. So everybody into this content space, they keep sharing all the good things that come up day to day. And maybe it could be that I am not able to completely look at it. So I'll give you an example. So DeepSeek also came out with a multimodal model called Janus Pro. So I just know that they came out with this model. I didn't get time to look into what it actually does, or again how the how if there is any changes from the R1 architecture into this Janus Pro. I'm sure there is. So that's how it is. Like, just we can keep up with the news, maybe not into depth, but yeah, we can just follow up on them. Whichever interest I could go deep down into it.
Yeah,
And
that
I have another question. What newsletter you follow to keep up with the trend?
So there are certain people that I follow on LinkedIn. Say, for example, there is Aishwarya Natarajan. Renger, I'm not pronouncing her name correctly. Let me look that up. So these people, they have a weekly newsletter coming up on Substack. So they do it very well. So going through that, there is deep learning also has that the batch called the batch. They have a deeplearning.ai, the company by Andrew Ng, the OG. So his company deeplearning.ai, they release a weekly newsletter called The Batch. That is also very super helpful for me. And again, there are people like Jay Alamar, Martin Gutenrost, and all of maybe I'm not recalling everybody's name, but I follow a lot of people. Even I'm not able to say, for example, go through all of the newsletters, but some of them maybe I keep following time to time.
Thanks for the answer. And now, okay, now audit. No, Masu wants to ask another question. Masu,
Mm-hmm.
you can unmute yourself.
Hello, Didi. Good evening. I want to
Good
ask
evening.
how important are open source contributions in getting AI related jobs? And if yes, how can a beginner start contributing?
So I think, yeah, open source contribution is totally up to you. Like if you are coming up with something, maybe for me example, if I try to implement up something onto say using open source software, say for example, there are these yeah, on top of generative AI, if you want to build a RAG chatbot and stuff, there are certain libraries which help you do these tasks like LangChain, and there is Llama Index. So suppose you have a problem that you can solve, say something into building a e-commerce chatbot. I'm giving you a very basic example. So if you built something of a RAG chatbot there, maybe you could also have some agentic for workflow there, and you use their tools and you solve this problem at hand, and then you raise a PR there, a pull request which you raise, and maybe they accept it, may not, maybe that they do not accept it, maybe it's a solved problem. But in a way, I guess you would learn the whole open source contribution ecosystem. So there are plenty of these open source softwares that have existing problem, and while they release it, they expect people to contribute to it. The whole point of open source is that, okay, we just released this software, now people can come in and do their part of it, they can contribute what is their problem in hand that they are able to solve using our software. That's what the lookout for is. So yeah, this way I guess you can go forward with it. There are many places, I guess, initially, even now I guess, into TensorFlow or PyTorch, there are certain problems existing into these libraries. It could be very complicated onto these layers where people that say that, okay, here is where you could find an optimization solution, and they raise a PR to it, and it gets accepted. So that's how, maybe it's just the how you identify it. But I'm sure if it is also a solved problem, I would say contribute to it. Maybe keep it to your own repositories, so that whenever you're going to interview, or even just for the sake of knowing certain things I implement, that I just want to know that how this thing works. So it's my kind of way that I look forward to learning something, that okay, this thing works like this, let me try and implement it and solve something.
Thank you for answering.
Yeah, thank you for the answer. So,
Mhm.
uh, I guess Hari has another question. Hari, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
List the programming languages that is necessary to overcome the data science.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
List the programming languages that is necessary to overcome the data science.
So there is Python, there is R, and now I guess Go, and many Rust, and many more languages
Yeah,
are coming up. But the most
Mojo.
that is Mojo, yeah, correct. So there is plenty of them coming up, but the one language that has been and will be remaining is Python, because of things that already have been implemented using Python is what is keeping up. There are certain libraries, as I mentioned, for LLMs. There is LangChain and Llama Index. They have implementation in JavaScript as well, TypeScript for now. So yeah, I guess those things will come up. But from if you wish to implement a machine learning algorithm from scratch, I think can be done using R, can be done using Python. But the most accepted one is Python, of course. Earlier, R was used for more, say, statistical for mathematical calculations. R was a more easier way, and Python used to do a more of abstractive way for non-mathematical people, where they can only implement up things and not worry about what's going on behind the picture.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. So the AI space is constantly evolving. We have agents coming up, new LLMs coming up, and recently I was exploring about decentralized AI. So what
Okay.
is your take on this decentralized AI?
I haven't delved much into it, but there is one field that caught my eyes last year, and I didn't get much of time to brainstorm on it. That is like machine unlearning. If you're referring to that,
Machine
or
learning.
is it some?
Actually, on machine learning is when you deploy machine small SLMs
Mhm.
into locally into mobile phones and like that. I am referring to decentralized. What do I mean by decentralized AI? Decentralized AI is like where you have lots of data, but you have a pre-training model, and and you then have knowledge base upon which
Mhm.
you use RAG techniques, and this knowledge base are kept on various separate nodes in a decentralized order.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
how
Hmm.
Web3 works in general. It's
Hmm. Hmm.
actually
Hmm. Hmm.
new field. It's more it's into the blockchain. It's more
Oh
secure,
yeah,
and the
yeah.
data is kept more secure than
Mhm.
closed source models, than relying on
Mhm.
one server like OpenAI or Google. You have in various nodes decentralized into the network, and that's how decentralized AI is forming. I have been exploring decentralized AI recently. So what's your
Okay.
take on
Okay.
this? Will it be in the future, or it will diminish with time?
Ah, hard to say, hard to say. Like I haven't at least delved much into it, but yeah, I did see it sometime last year coming up, but I don't think it picked up much of like attention. Because in what I see in open source, what happens is there are three aspects that we look into it. Like one is open weights. Most models are open source, meaning they are open weights that you can download the weights and you can train on top of them. But the aspect of whether it is open data and open code, so like for example, if I say you for DeepSeek, they said that how they implemented it, but they haven't shown up the code. Their code repository is not open source. Again, the data that they used is not open source. So nowadays data is readily available. There is common crawl, and I guess there's one from Hugging Face as well. They have built kind of a web of a data where you can get the entire internet data, if not entire, maybe, yeah, whatever they mean by it. So that aspect I look at as yeah, how do I get whether I'm able to get from open source all these three things, or is it like only open weights that I that's how I measure open source software. But yeah, I guess decentralized, I don't know. It's tough to say. Maybe if some breakthrough happens, we can think about it, but I haven't seen about it. I
Okay.
think touching upon that machine unlearning part that I was telling you, so it's kind of like you would see, you might know that in Kaggle they had a competition last year which nobody could crack it. So it's kind of
Actually, I
like
haven't
when
heard. Yeah.
I'll just brief you guys on that. So it's like
Okay.
you have a model which is trained upon a particular data to predict something. So suppose if I take out certain portion of that data, is it still able to predict that particular pattern, or say that particular prediction, whether it is happening or not, is what machine unlearning is. Like you make the
Okay.
machine unlearn, make the machine forget about a part of the data, and try to assess that whether or not it can predict that or not. So tricky concept. Even I didn't get
That's
much time to
actually,
explore on it,
yeah.
but yeah, a fascinating one.
Yeah, I mean, after some training, some weights and biases
Hmm.
the parameters are adjusted based on the data, and then you make the model forget those data. It's like that, right? Specific data.
Yes, yes,
It's
yes,
actually tricky. Yeah,
yes.
I have to see after after the session. Okay. Now, Auditra has another question.
Yes.
Yeah, Auditra, you can unmute yourself.
Didi, Didi, I have two questions. First question is,
Mm-hmm.
what are the main key differences between FNN and RNN? And my second question is that you both are discussing. Like, what are the benefits of machine unlearning?
Okay, I didn't get RNN versus what did you say?
FNN, Federal Neural Network.
What?
Okay, okay.
Oh,
RNN I know about. Federal neural networks, not really. I didn't work on them, or maybe if you're referring to federated learning, is that what you're referring to?
Yes, yes, federated.
I honestly haven't explored that part of it. RNNs are pretty much like when you want to predict something on a sequential data, say, for
Hmm.
example, a kind of a sentence where we would need that how one word is related to the next word. So whenever the sequence of things happens, we usually go for RNNs. There's also how you can solve time series problems also can be attempted using RNNs and LSTMs because, yeah, of course, the continuous nature of it, we would want to see the pattern there. Federated learning, not really. I won't be able to say much. I did not explore that way part of it.
yeah.
Okay,
And
no
And
problem.
I
But what what are the benefits of machine unlearning? Because
so it's kind
I
of
don't have any
a
idea about machine unlearning.
so it's kind of that it said that whenever we train a model, we want to remove bias from it, like we want to make it totally unbiased. And if there are say I have a data set where there are 100 patterns, and if you're able to learn 50 of them, maybe I think it's a very abstract concept. I also don't know how far it will take off, but the concept underlining it is that say you have 50 patterns and you want to predict from there, you want to predict 51st or 52nd pattern that could be there. So from there, if you remove the from out of 100, if you remove 50 patterns from those past 50, is it able to learn the next pattern out of not? So it's I don't know if it is a vague concept or what it is, but somehow it seemed interesting to me. There's some content in the internet available, you can go forward and read about it.
Okay, definitely will read about it. Thank you.
okay. Now Ayushi has another question. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, Didi, I just wanted to know, like, for the data science part, we really need a good grip about everything about Python language. So, other than that, for the DSA purpose, it is being said that Python is not so preferable. So, in place of Python right now, I'm using Java. But then, if I go deep down through Java, it do include the concepts of framework and the multi-threading and all. So, what you may suggest? Should I change to C++ or it's okay to be with Java?
Uh, okay, tricky question again. So I think, yeah, for data science, we I don't think there is much breakthroughs into Java. There has been some work around Java that I did see. Maybe someone's, I think 2023 or 24 around, there was some talks into implementing some things onto about data science with using Java. But honestly, it hasn't picked up much because of the evolution that Python went through. About the time complexity, I surely agree that yes, Python does have a time complexity when it comes to C++ or Java in this CP space. But I guess it's not that big a deal. I have seen most platforms giving out this Python where you would be able to implement in Python, and I don't think that would be a greater challenge in hand. For I guess for product-based companies, if you're particularly targeting them, there it comes down to that. But I guess they more of look into the approach that you're doing rather than the actual time of execution. So the approach, maybe you how if you are able to well explain your approach, then I guess it's fine that you use Python itself. It's totally up to you. Like if you want to additionally learn about Java and have it for CP, it's completely fine. But yeah, I don't think Python would be a bigger problem as well. And recently Python 3.12, if you see, they have done major work into it. They have like earlier, it was not for the deadlock problem. If you you know of in the OS, that there's only one particular object at a time that we can work with, so that there's no other resource trying to access it. So that problem led to this time complexity in Python, but in 3.12 they are able to overcome it with some kind of parallel processing. Earlier it wasn't possible until 3.11 or so. So I guess Python is also a evolving space, and I generally love Python. And anybody coming up to me telling that to start from Java, I won't be able to do that.
Okay, okay. Thank you for letting me know.
So, folks, you have any more question? Okay, Masum has
Yeah,
another.
I do one.
Yeah.
Recently, you can see OpenAI has released their latest model O3 Mini and even
Mhm.
GPT-4o, which are having some impressive reasoning capabilities. So,
Yeah.
do you think that they can ever achieve human-like reasoning capabilities, or it will always be limited to data and algorithms?
Again, I don't have a definitive answer for this, but yeah, I think to some extent they will be able to pick it up. The so-called AGI that we want to achieve, maybe within 5 to 10 years, I guess that will be done. But yeah, I guess it's more of that regulations perspective we need to bring upon. And if you have watched movies like Terminator, so it's obvious that these systems, we realize these systems are for helping humans, are for decreasing, for increasing our productivity and decreasing the complexities in life. So that's how I look at it. Maybe if you are looking forward to building some kind of military weapons using these models, they're still not yet there, and it will be good that they are not there. The people who are building these kind of models are in charge that they abide by these basic ethics and principles. But yeah, there is, of course, I think if you guys are aware of the deepfake concept, nowadays it has been booming, and with the kind of video generation and image generation, now it's gone to a whole another level. So that's where I guess more and more regulations need to become, and we as individuals who build these systems are will need to be more active into this space. But yeah, I guess AGI will be done. I don't see a problem in that. Eventually in 5 10 years it may be done.
Yeah,
Okay,
regarding
thank you.
yeah, thank you. Regarding the video generation part, recently ByteDance, TikTok's parent company, released one
Mm-hmm.
model, OmniHuman,
Yes,
OmniHuman
Omniman.
one, and
Yeah,
it was, yeah,
correct,
OmniHuman, and
correct.
it was capable of,
And
yeah,
Einstein.
it was, yeah, Einstein speaking like like it's normal, it's natural. It's crazy the time we are living in right now, to see the past folks again talking in videos.
So, if you guys, I don't know if you have seen, I think Nicolas Cage, he's one of the Hollywood actors who have, raised concerns that usage of AI into filmmaking. So that's a concerning area. It will reduce into this VFX and all these things that we apply, but then what about the people who are actually into this work? And there's also the debate of who would own the IP. So, suppose my avatar is being used elsewhere, is it the company who is building the avatar owning the IP, or is it me who owns it? So certain kinds of debates will continue.
And also, there are various cross domains AI is also circulating, like AI in medicine, AI in medicine, AI in law,
Drug discovery.
n- yeah, drug discovery. But the problem is they're all about accuracies. They are not accurate. They are hallucinating, and that's why we can't use them in a proper way, in more sensible in medical diagnosis.
Yes, yes, there
Yeah,
is robotics into robotic surgery has been picking up, but I think trust is somewhere still. I
yeah,
won't go
trust.
there. I wear spectacles. I don't even trust going for a LASIK, if I may say. So nothing on the eye goes in. It's okay. I put up spectacles for the rest of my life. So that's how I guess
Yeah.
I am a lover of technology, but there's certain kinds of trust and pros and cons that come into picture. So yeah, it's totally like how people like, if you are a kind of person like Elon Musk who would go to any extent to implement things, or if you're kind of person who want to balance out onto having life out of these phones and screens. So that's totally up to you.
And the Neuralink part where he is transplanting some chips into human brains.
Yes, yes, yes. And I guess last I followed, two of the cases are successful, is what I heard.
Yeah, two of the cases with disabilities, they were doing that. So
So
I
I
guess
guess solving problems is good. Like say somebody who has not been able to hear has a hearing problem.
yeah,
If they are able to hear, then good. But we also need to check that is there any side effects that coming into it, because I mean human body is built in a way, we are made in a way. Certain digital thing being injected to us. What is the side effects that may have?
actually. Also, coming to the section, the responsible AI will be booming, I guess. What's your take on this responsible AI?
Very very important, I would say. Like these models which like they claim a lot of things now. DeepSeek, apart from it said that they are stealing data. Like whatever, if you use the API now, there is restriction, of course. No longer anybody can log in because of the cyber attack that happened. So that's how, like, stealing data, or even like I guess in OpenAI, if you use the free tier of ChatGPT also, you have to consent that you take in whatever data I put in. So that's how these things will need to be solved. And I guess to some extent those anonymization of PII data and those things are getting solved. Now I think earlier it used to respond to, like, say, I want to make a bomb, tell me the steps. So now we are above that stage that it directly doesn't respond to it. But I don't know, somewhere in the world people might be getting to know that stuff as well. So those
Yeah,
things will need to be regulated at I think, yeah, that's where I guess you were talking about decentralized AI. But
yeah,
then
actually.
regulation is also something is needed. So I guess recently I heard that Trump has so DeepSeek, whatever they did has been challenging the West market, and Trump said that whoever uses DeepSeek would be fined 1 million along with the other charges as well, prison as well. So that's crazy. Shouldn't go to
Actually,
that
that's crazy.
extent. I mean, they are trying to avoid the thing. I am a lover of open source, and like we should do it. But then again, regulations are something that needs to be followed. So if you have heard the news of, there was some engineer in OpenAI in San Francisco, of course. So
Yeah, yeah,
he's
he
yeah,
was he
so
was an
either
Indian.
suicide or killed, we do not know.
Yeah,
So he
it's
was
a
supposed to,
controversy.
yeah, he was supposed to present to the court that there is certain things
Yeah,
that OpenAI isn't following up. But yeah, nobody will be questioning
right.
those.
Yeah, actually, it's actually very much controversy around there. And the things we are currently knowing that most of the LLMs that are coming out are based on the transformer architecture, most of
Hmm.
them. So
Yeah.
my question is, will there be another architecture after transformer, or that's it? Transformer, from transformer we are getting AGI.
Uh, I mean, like, there are certain ways how transformers have been molded, like mixture of experts, fast transformers, and all of those things are there. I don't know, like, whether there be a next thing. Maybe. I'm sure there can be, but yeah, this is a big breakthrough. Like, when, say, for example, when deep learning or neural networks came, and now we have transformers, successor of them. So it's kind of like, how would I put it? Like benchmark, maybe. Yeah, and obviously there will be algorithms. I mean, 20 years down the lane, it cannot be that some breakthrough has not been made. I'm sure there will be. Researchers
Thank you
are
for,
working for
yeah,
those things. Yeah,
yeah. It's actually very exciting to live in this age. Coming,
yeah,
there are lots of trends and in the AI space coming out daily on regular basis. Various LLM
absolutely.
models, various techniques, various research paper. It's actually along the side is also difficult to keep up. So thanks for all those
Absolutely.
yeah, all those answers. So now I guess Arithra has another question. Arithra, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Mhm.
Hello,
Your voice is breaking. Cannot hear you.
Arithra. Arithra, your voice is breaking actually. Hello, yeah,
You you can maybe put down in chat, maybe, if not
yeah,
an issue.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, in the Q&A section you can write it about the question you were asking just now in the Q&A. The chat is not working actually. Hello. I guess
No,
you're
can't hear
you
you.
are
Sorry.
yeah, you are having network issue. I guess I'm muting yourself. Muting you. Yeah, currently, yeah.
Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn
Yeah.
chats as well. I am pretty active
Actually.
there. I'll surely try to answer your questions there. And if you want to put it up into this Q&A section, that is also fine.
Okay. Now Ahmed has another question. Ahmed, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, hi Jay and Saurdeep. First of all, thanks for this session. It's looking very nice and impressive. The people are asking so many questions, looking like data science aspirants. Just I want to know. First of all, I want to say where I am, so that
Mm-hmm.
you can suggest me. Actually, I
Mm-hmm.
am from the life science background, life science graduate. I
Mm-hmm.
was have experience of nearly 8 years of experience currently now. I'm in completely life science, but I turned into the little bit of technical by learning SQL and using some kind of Oracle tools.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to work on some kind of SQL coding tweaking and applying the existing codes. So
Mm-hmm.
I have an interest on this learning this data science and AI. What you suggest for people like me? What you suggest from basics? Actually, I'm learning side by side like Python, and also I'm following few of newsletters like, for example, Daily Dose of Data Science. But somewhere I'm stucking with the technical words, kind of algorithms words, something like that. I know I'm
Okay.
lack of some kind of basics. So what you suggest, like people like me, from basic level, any kind of blog or YouTube channel, so that I can
Mm-hmm.
learn and
Mm-hmm.
strong my basics. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I think when it comes to life sciences, it's very important that we do not go for like if you know of like basics of machine learning, we do not want any false positives there. So whatever we have in life sciences is very important that we have the accuracy on top of say positive results that we get, because we do not want anything on the negative side that we suppose say I have a disease. So based suppose say if I'm predicting that I have a chronic heart disease, when I want to predict that, so whether I have it, if I already have it and you're predicting that I do not have it, then that is a problem, right? So that's where you need to check, right, these certain kinds of metrics, how you measure the models. So for life sciences specifically or healthcare in specific, these metrics are very very important. So I would say go through maybe the basics of machine learning, how statistical machine learning or say traditional machine learning was done. So there you would get to know. And there is a lot of like when I started off, I used to do this disease diagnosis and disease predictions. So these basic kind of modeling is already available there. You would get some kind of Jupyter notebook with people already implemented it. Maybe go through that, how it was done, and then maybe come up with say later on when I was doing some brain segmentation or brain tumor detection using some kind of imagery. So there again, there we used some kind of computer vision models and neural networks, CNNs to be specific. So those things were my learnings that I have learned out of this. Currently also I in Deloitte as well, I went to life sciences project where we are trying to do some summarization on top of a bunch of text data that we have. So there also it many at times we need to check whether what is the content that we are getting, what is that we have need to have in our data of summarization, how do we formulate the summarization problem. So those are some of the learnings that we had out of NLP. So yeah, I guess you would need if you're totally wanting to apply your technical skills into these solving these real world problems, basics is the only thing that I can suggest. And I guess there is plenty of resource available, and the more you implement, the more you learn.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess it's already 8:30. It's time to sum up the session.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So folks, so Jayita ji, are you willing to answer
Mm-hmm.
more questions? There are more raised hands actually.
Okay, okay, sure, sure. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Joy wants to ask another question. Joy, you can ask.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are
Yeah.
audible.
Uh, so tolerate my poor English. So good evening, everyone. As I am totally beginner to programming languages and at all, and you said you also made some projects in your college life as well. Uh, so when you were a beginner, so how would you use to overcome the overwhelmness of learning new programming languages or new modules like I am facing right now?
So you're asking about how do you learn a programming language, is it?
No, no, no. How to overcome the overwhelmness? Uh, Like I am learning that, but I am getting confused, and eh, when I am unable to solve the questions, or I am unable to, or I am forgetting some syntaxes as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
So,
as a
okay,
beginner,
okay.
actually,
Mm-hmm.
I was introduced to programming 6 months ago. You can.
Uh-huh.
It C was my first programming language.
Got it, got
Uh,
it.
s-
Okay, okay.
okay, okay.
So my advice
So,
would be
uh,
any of these programming language or any of these libraries or anything that is into open source, or say for example even closed source that you're learning up, they have an excellent documentation page. Do go through that. I personally, whenever I get stuck, it's not possible for me to remember the hundreds and two hundreds of functions that pandas has, or what are the hyperparameters into each of them that goes in. So I keep forgetting that it's not possible for any human to even memorize that. So I go up to this documentation page where I look up for, okay, this is the function that I want to implement, how do I implement it? So documentations are one stop great thing that you can go up. And apart from that, maybe if you're looking into say implementing one particular thing into it, suppose for if machine learning, if you're learning about feature engineering, so how do you do that? There's plenty of YouTube videos available, there's plenty of blogs and articles available on that particular specific topic, and there you can explore that what more can be done on top of basics. So that's how I guess you can go forward with it.
okay, ma'am. Thank you. And I have two more questions. Can I ask?
Sure, go ahead.
So, what are the pre-requirements of learning AI and ML? And the second one is, how can I get started with them?
Okay. I guess, yeah, pretty much the session was about it. Like, you need to know basics, you need to know mathematics, and start
Yeah,
up with mathematics, start up with, say, programming Python, and then go forward with knowing some bits of Python libraries like NumPy and Pandas. If you go to Kaggle, you would see there is a courses section. So it's very good, very good clubbed up how from basics to advanced you go through, from just analyzing the data to visualizing the data, then applying feature engineering to it, then coming to modeling, then maybe going for next forward of evaluations and other steps. So its whole pipeline is there. There you can learn it up. There are of course various contents available over the net. Coursera has one of the greatest course by Andrew Ng, the machine learning course. So it could be a bit of overwhelming if you are a beginner, because they go in depth into some mathematics and implementation. But yeah, I guess there are other equivalents as well. There is pretty much good YouTube content. You can follow maybe Krish Nayak, or yeah, I still follow him. He does good content onto it. There are plenty others, I guess. Nowadays everybody is coming up, but yeah, keep a watch that the content that you're going through, how valid or how good it is, because again, content creation is a wide market. Everybody is coming up creating content. Which is valuable to you, you need to identify that. And I would say, whenever
Thank you,
you
ma'am.
learn a concept, try implementing it. So for example, if you are learning about scikit-learn, they already have their data sets of those flower classification and all of those OG data sets. They already have there. Just how you implement it, you do it on your hands-on. The more you do it by hands-on, the more you will be able to tackle it up.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. I liked the session, like people are really interactive and yeah, they question up, and that's how I like it to be. Whenever I am only speaking, how do I understand people understand my point of view until unless they interact? So it's very good that people
Yeah.
kept interacting.
Okay. So I guess Aditya, you can. I guess your mic was not working. You can ask her over LinkedIn. Okay. So apart from Aditya, if anyone has another question, you can definitely ask. Or it's time to conclude this session.
Yeah,
I,
we did a pretty big one. Yeah.
How is your experience going on with Deloitte?
It's good. It's good. I am learning a lot of new things. There's this data science. So into data science, there are various tools which can handle the entire life cycle of a data science project. So I'm learning about those. What happens when you take these things into production? What are the challenges that you face? And various things. Not just just the POC or the MVP. When an entire product goes into it, when the end customer uses it, what are the challenges that you face there? So yeah, this is great.
Okay.
any more questions, folks? Any more questions? I guess it's time to conclude this session. Thanks, Joyita for finding time to spend with us out of your busy schedule over
My
at the
pleasure.
weekend. Yeah. Let's meet at some other hackathons or events, maybe, or
Absolutely.
maybe, yeah, or any other future session. I guess. Did you like this session, by the way?
Yes, absolutely. As I mentioned, that it's very good that the crowd is pretty interactive, and even when I go up to the stage, I talk. I really love people cross questioning, and there are things that I might not know. I love. People share their experiences and I learn things out of it as well. So that's how I like the format of it. So yeah, I had a great time. Yeah.
Uh, we are currently in our third year, and we recently started this initiative of bringing folks like you who are expertise
Mm-hmm.
in their field over here, so
Mm-hmm.
that they can interact with the beginners. They are mostly beginners here, which have
Okay.
attended the
Okay.
session. Yeah, in their first
Mm-hmm.
year, second years. Okay.
Good.
Thanks for coming again. Yeah, thanks for coming again, Jayita. Hope we can
Yeah,
meet
the
at another.
website that you have, it's really good. I really liked it. I'm not sure how you use some templates or anything, but yeah, the way you maintained it,
Uh,
it's really good, commendable.
yeah, it is actually built by our front-end developers over the community. Actually,
Nice, nice. It's
we
good
have
that you
started this
have this ecosystem. Back in day when I was in college, we knew nothing. We were still just pastime. So good that you kids are doing all of these stuff.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I guess it's time to conclude. Okay, thanks again for joining, okay, this session. I hope we can meet at another in the future events or hackathons. Maybe we can
Yep,
participate together. It can be also the case.
sure thing.
Uh,
Sure thing.
let's see for the future. Okay, thanks for joining again. Okay, good
Thank
night.
you. Good night. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye, Jayatadi.